Bank of Canada cuts interest rates for a third consecutive time. And guess what? It ain't done. We got more to go. We are probably going to have one rate cut at every announcement, meaning every 6 to 7 weeks or so for the next year, maybe. It's going to be that much of a cut. And I'm going to explain why, even though we're going to see that many cuts in the coming year, that real estate market isn't going to be what it was in 2021. It might be crazy town since the pandemic again. And I'm going to be breaking all of that down for you on this week's episode of Prime Properties TV. Now, if you're looking for some help on how to navigate this fall market, as we're just kicking off, we're starting to get a lot of listings active. We're starting to have a lot of people call about, hey, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Because kids are back at school. So if you want to chat about what's going on and whether your plans with this fall market make a lot of sense, or just kind of want to chat about what your upcoming plans are, you could do so by booking a call with me using the link that's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Simply click on the date and a time that works best for you. And then when you see the prop, fill in your name, email, mobile phone number, and the question you have for me, and then we'll chat then. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. My name is Zhen. If you're enjoying the content I'm putting out there, do me a favor and like and subscribe. So, Bank of Canada cuts key interest rates to 4.25%. Remember, we started at 5, and every single announcement, every 6 to 7 weeks, we're probably going to get another 25 basis point cut or 0.25%. I honestly could have just pre-recorded this video because it was such a home run that they were going to cut that. I don't think anyone was even contemplating whether they were actually going to pause. If anything, people are contemplating 50 basis point cut. So why did I say that we're probably going to get more cuts to come? It's very simple. The economy is going to poo-poo right now, right? So despite what people may want to say, I think a lot of people are feeling it. We were feeling it around the edges, but it's going to slowly start trickling in. So we got a lot of the kind of things I've talked about in the past that I'm not going to rehash in this video. You can check out the other videos. But when the economy is really weak, interest rates are going to come down. So right now, one of the things that I am always kind of looking at is looking at where the interest rates are going to go. So currently, based on where the market thinks, we were at 5% in June, and now you can see there's one rate cut all the way down. Now there may be potentially a pause in December. I actually think there may not be, but you can see that we're cutting all the way down to 3%. So where is Bank of Canada going to stop? So I don't think we're going to get it down to what we saw in the pandemic. So for reference, the pandemic was at 0.25%, right? Do I think they may bring it down below 3% from this chart? There's a possibility, right? Maybe they'll bring it between 2.5 to 3, which would probably put your mortgage rates in the 3s and the 4s, depending on what that product is. So it's definitely a significant improvement from here. But is it going to be the rates that we saw in the pandemic? No, I don't think so, right? So this is why I was saying, look, I think these interest rates are going to have an impact on the real estate market. And what that impact is that instead of 20-year low in sales that we've seen in the last 2 years, maybe we revert to the average, the last 10-year average, right? So as reference, if we were seeing say 5,000 sales in August, maybe they're back at 7,000, right? Instead of seeing prices maybe stagnate, maybe they go up 3 to 4% a year, right? Adjusted for seasonality. That's back to normal. So pandemic was 10% and 2 times the amount of volume. So going back to normal isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I wouldn't listen to people saying, hey, the real estate market's going to go on absolute tear. It's not going to go on tear because of a recession, right? A lot of people are putting their plans on hold because they're concerned for their job, right? And if you're concerned for where your income is, you're not going to be making a really big purchase. So that's why I was saying the interest rates are going to have a big impact on the real estate market, but it's not going to make it go crazy town back in 2021. It's just going to bring it back to the normal averages. And that's just talking as a whole market as a whole, not just breaking it down between condos and sub areas and micro markets, stuff like that. Now, the other reason why I think they can potentially keep cutting rates is that if you look here, the inflation has always been the Bank of Canada's mandate. And you can see over here that in July, 1.4% of that was everything else in the CPI basket, right? So, you're probably familiar with that because everyone's been talking for the last 2 years. But look over here in the orange. 1.2% of that, or almost half, right? So 45% or so, is made up of mortgage interest inflation. So what does that mean? If interest rates come down, which the Bank of Canada can control, right, both on the variable side and on the fixed side to an extent, they can make inflation come down. So inflation can be below 2%. So it's going to give them room to continue cutting. So when you have the economy so weak, it's going to continue pressuring the Bank of Canada to cut interest rates to spur the economy. So basically, exact opposite of what we saw in the last 2 years. And this is why I've been saying everything in the world, like financially speaking, economically speaking, has been crazy volatile. And the real estate market is kind of at the mercy of that as well. And the final thing I will note is, just in case you're not fully in the nerd space, this Bank of Canada announcement, again, just affects the variable rate. So anyone who had a variable, adjustable, fixed, static variable, whatever, just a variable, it will come down, right? The fixed hasn't been moving as much on the posted side on the website, but the fixed market ties into the Bank of Canada market, which kind of semi-forward looking for the Bank of Canada announcements, right? And mainly they kind of follow the US. But you can see that for the first year or so, it's actually dipped below 3%. Right. So this is what the banks borrow from to give you a fixed rate mortgage. So, they try to match the duration, it's the technical term, on 5 year. So when you are getting a 5-year mortgage and you can see this bond yield coming down, that's where the fixed rate mortgages are coming down as well. And just so that everyone's super clear right now, what you see online from the website or the letter you're getting from your bank for these renewals is not the actual rate you're getting. So I see a lot of people and a lot of clients ask me like, hey, should I do this? So I'll give you an example. A certain color of bank, green and blue, are rather aggressive right now. And if they send you a letter saying, hey, you can get a 3-year fixed at like 5% right now, shop it around, bring it back. They'll likely match whatever they bring back. And it's usually 1% difference. So I'm seeing a lot of 3-year fixes in like the mid 4s right now. So that's where a lot of people are going right now. And it is rather competitive, I would say, for the mortgage space right now for a lot of the banks. And from what I gather from talking to my mortgage contacts, I think the banks internally are trying to fight for more mortgages because people are paying down the mortgages, people aren't getting mortgages, so that their share of revenue in mortgages is shrinking and they need to grow it. So that's why they're so aggressive on rates. They're just not posting it, right? So if you have a renewal or of any sort, or you're getting a new property, I would generally use 4.5 on a baseline if you're like a AAA borrower. Anyways, I hope this gives you an idea of what's happening in the real estate market right now after seeing some of these like Bank of Canada announcements. So yes, we got a rate cut. Yes, we should continue seeing more rate cuts. Yes, the real estate market will start moving a bit again, but yes, it also will not get back to the craziness of like the pandemic. So yes, prices may go up a tiny little bit, so don't have FOMO. And yes, we're probably likely going into a recession. So a lot of yeses in that sense. But you just have to understand the context and kind of like where you are right now relative to all of the stuff I just talked about. And if you do want to talk about that, you could do so by booking a call with me using the link that's on the screen. That's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya! Now that you're done watching this one, how about this one? Or this one? You know what? Just watch them both.